My name is Daniela Vargas, and my chosen country is the Dominican Republic. The Dominican Republic is located on the island of Hispaniola, which it shares with Haiti, and is surrounded by the North Atlantic Ocean and the Caribbean Sea. The Dominican Republic takes up 2/3 of the island, and has a population of 10.65 million people. The central and west portions of the country are mountainous, whereas the southeast is primarily lowlands. The current president of the Dominican Republic is Danilo Medina, and the language of the Dominican Republic is Spanish. Race and ethnicity. Miscegenation is defined as the interbreeding of people considered to be of different racial types. Miscegenation was common in the Dominican Republic after colonization and was seen within the various different racial types on the island. This included, as we will see later, the Taino people, which were indigenous people native to the island of Hispaniola. In the mid-1980s, approximately 16% of Dominicans considered themselves white, 11% considered themselves black, and the remainder categorized themselves as mulattos. According to worldatlas.com, currently, 72% of the Dominican population considers itself mulatto, mestizo, or multiracial. 16% considers itself white Dominican, 11% considers itself black Dominican, and 1% would consider itself other. The ethnic demographic in the Dominican Republic is clouded by the complications in self-identification within the country. Some studies of Dominican genetics show that the majority of Dominicans are some mix of European and African, with some of the population also having traces of Taino ancestry. In the 1930s, the dictator of the Dominican Republic, Rafael Trujillo, forced Dominicans to conform to identification as white or some variation of Taino on their national identity cards. This eliminated the ability to identify as black on an identification card, which gradually contributed to a growing anti-black sentiment. Anti-black sentiment has been ingrained in Dominican society within beauty standards as well, and held primarily to women but also to the rest of the population. Dominican women are commonly expected to straighten their hair and have been, along with other Afro-Latinx populations, the target audience for whitening creams. Dominican women commonly have hair that is of a thicker texture and can be referred to as pelo malo, which can be translated to bad hair. The anti-black sentiment that was fomented by Trujillo continues to live on, and only recently did Afro-Dominicans begin to identify with their African heritage. Some words commonly used by Dominicans as identifiers are indio, indio oscuro, indio claro, trigueño, or moreno or morena. The word indio refers to the Taino descendants that Dominicans were encouraged to associate with. Indio oscuro means dark Indian, indio claro would mean light Indian, and trigueño can often be associated with mestizo or mestiza. U.S. interference. A listing of U.S. interference within the Dominican Republic will be shown here. In 1916, the U.S. Marines occupied the Dominican Republic and stayed until 1924. In 1929, the U.S. established a military academy to train a National Guard as the Dominican Republic's army. In 1930, Rafael Trujillo, who came out of the U.S.-trained National Guard, became the dictator of the Dominican Republic. Rafael Trujillo was a dictator of the Dominican Republic from 1930 until 1964, with some interruption. 1964 was the year of his assassination. During Trujillo's reign, around 25,000 people were killed or disappeared by the state. During his campaign, Trujillo began a secret police which was in charge of eliminating people who would not support his party. This is one of the main reasons why Trujillo won by a landslide. Trujillo maintained force in 1961 forcibly. In 1963, the CIA backed a coup to overthrow Juan Bosch in the Dominican Republic after Trujillo's reign was over. In 1965, the United States invaded and occupied the Dominican Republic to stop what they call the Communist Rebellion after democratic elections were attempted to be held. The U.S. has interfered various times in Latin American countries. Within the Dominican Republic, its interference was seen mainly as a move for political power. For Lyndon B. Johnson's time in presidency, the move to overthrow Juan Bosch in the Dominican Republic in 1963 was mainly a power move to show that he was willing to do anything to overcome communism, or what appeared to be communism, because he was getting pushed by Congress to enforce democracy in a democratic republic. Dominican tradition / Carnaval. Carnaval is a tradition that has prevailed in the Dominican Republic since the mid-1500s. It retained more popularity on February 27th of 1844 when the Dominican Republic achieved independence from Haiti. Carnaval is celebrated a little bit differently in each region, but essentially has various costumes that are common. One of such costumes is called El Diablo Cojuelo. Animal masks and masks of the devil or other are very common, and another common costume is for men to dress as women. Carnival celebrations last the whole month of February. Carnival is not a celebration of independence, and due to this, the government has been attempting to separate Independence Day from Carnival so as to not take away from the meaning of Independence Day. Carnival is something that exists in various Latin American countries. However, within the Dominican Republic, there has been some resistance from the Spanish and from others to stop the celebration of Carnival because it was a uniting of forces and could lead, essentially, to some form of uprising. Carnival generally contains very bright colored masks and is a time for union celebration, feasting, and color amongst all the streets.